Greetings, judges. Welcome to the first volume of our gymnastics training tapes. My name is Mike Amadon. We'll be looking at a bunch of vaults here. Hopefully this will help you out, and the purpose of this is to try to bring our scores statewide a little bit more consistent. Now, vault's an interesting event. It goes so quick. Some say it's extremely easy to judge. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be very, very hard. So hopefully as we do these things, we'll get a good chance to see kind of where we stand on some of these vaults here. Okay, I hope you can come up with a score. Shouldn't take you too long. The first thing you're going to notice is obviously that was not a pike suit. And so instead of starting at a 9.8, you know that we start this scoring at a 9.6. It had a pretty good tuck. I would take maybe 1 to 2 tenths on height, not much more. Had pretty good distance, take a tenth or a half a tenth, probably a tenth on form. But the main thing was it had a big step on the landing, and I would take 2 on that. Now, this is not a great angle, obviously, but this is what we have. It's actually okay to see the height. The distance is a little harder. It's good to see the repulsion. It's pretty good to see the form. It's very good for seeing directional errors. Oh yeah, I forgot. What's the deduction for the coach calling a wrong vault? I'll give you a hint here. Is it 5 tenths, 3 tenths, 1 tenth, or no deduction? Okay. It's no deduction. They can call whatever they want. We judge what we see. All right, go ahead and see if you can come up with a score. It's a 9.8 start value. It had very good height. You could take a little bit if you wanted, half a tenth or so, and it had good distance. Take a tiny bit if you felt you need to. Again, the big thing was the off center. I took a tenth for being off center. I took a tenth for the step on the landing. So I came up with a 9.45 to 9.5 kind of range of scores. That's a nice vault. And I just want to remind you now that these are scores that I kind of come up with, and this is my kind of feeling of how much I would deduct for height and distance. And each person needs to kind of develop their own system and how much they would take on each of those kinds of deductions for those different parts of the vault. So please make sure that you kind of develop your own way of doing it, and don't just go by what I'm saying. There's a lot of variation in gymnastic scoring, so do your best on that. But I did run across some newer vaults, and these are called Yurchenko full-ons. It's a very complicated vault because now in the pre-flight you have to do a full twist rather than just the Yurchenko back handspring on or the pike souk half on kind of thing. I did find a deduction that I haven't used much for the first phase of the vault. And it says incomplete longitudinal axis twist in the first phase. And you can go up to 3 tenths. And I'm thinking that's for the full on. And so there's no quarter on, Yurchenko quarter on. There is a half on, but they usually do front handspring kinds of things out of that. So I'm looking for a good Yurchenko full on. Look for height. Remember, you can go up to 5 tenths for lack of height. And distance, we can go up to 3 tenths. When I judge vault, I try to go with 4 things: height, distance, form, and landing. And when I write them on my paper, I usually go in reverse. I usually do the landing first, then I do the form, then I do height and distance. Yurchenko full on, half off. So I'm trying to look for the full on, and I'm trying to look for the repulsion off of this. So let's go ahead and take a look at full on, half off. Okay. Now, when I look at this, I'm not so concerned if you score it or not, but that was a pretty good full on, and she had pretty good form on the whole thing. The big deduction for me was the height, and I would take at least 2.5 to 3.5 tenths. It was a little short. When she came off with the half twist, she did pike it and had a big hop sideways. I took 2 tenths on the big hop. Small hop, you would have taken 1, or a step, you would have taken 1. So when I put all my deductions together, I come up with somewhere between an 8-9 and a 9-1. If you get a chance to, see more of these. Watch them closely if you get it. Let's go to the next one. This will be a Yurchenko full-on, full-off. And the value was 10-0. It's a 10-0 ball. Okay, unfortunately, she had the fall on that one. As I'm looking at this kind of thing, the full-on was, again, pretty good. I took a 10th off for form with legs, and that's fairly common on the full-on. Height, again, the block on this, she got off the table pretty quickly, but I still took 2 to 3 on height, 1 on distance, 1 off to the side, and then a 5/10 for the fall. So you put that all together, and I'm at 8-8 to 9-0. We're going to do another Yurchenko full-on, full-off. And again, I want you to try to look for the full-on here. Okay, interesting vault. Here's what I came up with. The full-on was not a full-on. It was a 3/4 on, very noticeable. The hands were staggered on that. I took full 3/10. Height, I took full 3/10, or I took 3/10 out of 5 on height. Took 1 on distance. He had a step on landing, and I took 2 on the form. So I'm at somewhere between 9-0 and 9-2. You also have a deduction called insufficient dynamics that you could use if you need to, which I maintain to do the way the vault should be done and the block off the table. Okay, here we go with the next one. And this actually is the same gymnast, and it's the same vault. Okay, let's see what you came up with here. This was a much better vault. Okay, your second vault was much, much better. I did take a 10th on form and 2/10 on height. Distance was pretty good. Maybe you want to take a 1/2 a 10th or so, whatever. Step on the landing. So I'm at 9-3 to 9-4. A much, much better vault. Hopefully we're somewhere in there and we're getting used to seeing these here. Another Yurchenko full-on, full-off. Remember, it's a 10-0 start value. We're looking for that full-on, and we're going to see if we can see some block off. Okay, see what you come up with for a score. All right, vault, you can score pretty quick on these things. I took a 1/2 a 10th off on form. You should take at least 2/10 off on height, on block on that. It was a tiny bit short, but not much. Took a 1/2 a 10th. The full off was not complete. She didn't quite get all the way around. I took 2/10. A step on the landing, I took 1/10. My score, 9-3 to 9-4-5. And that's going to wrap up our Yurchenko fulls. They're difficult vaults to judge because so much happens so quickly. So if you get a chance to see one in a meet, watch the warm-up, spend a little extra time looking for that full-on and the height and the block off of it. So now we're going to move to a Yurchenko layout, and let's take a look at this and see how it goes. Go ahead and give that a score. Overall, very nice vault. All right, there's not too much to deduct on this one, so you probably have your score already. My question to you, is that a layout or a pike? You can definitely see some pike in that particular position. Since it's supposed to be straight position, I would take at least 1/10 off for not being that straight. I can have a tiny bit of pike, but that had a little bit too much for me. So I would take 1/10 on a little bit of pike, but I would still start it as a layout at 10-0. The height was really pretty good if you wanted to take a tiny bit. Distance was great. Form was good. The problem was the landing. They had a big hop, which I took 2/10 for. Then they had a small hop, which was another 10. So you should take 3/10 for that landing. So 9-5 to 9-6. That's a nice vault. And this, you have to decide if it's a layout or a pike. It was called a layout. This is a tricky one. There's a bunch of different things. What I saw her pike hit to a quick layout and a big pike down. So the question is, do you score it as a pike or a layout? And my answer is, it doesn't really matter. If it's scored as a layout, I'm definitely taking at least 2 for the pike. If you're scoring it as a pike, you don't really have to take much on it there. But there was a pike down. She was short on the landing, take 2, and she had 1 step on the landing, take another one. So somewhere between 9.4, 9.5, I scored it 9.45. That makes it interesting. There's a layout, Yurchenko. Again, start value is a 10. And away we go. This was another nice vault. It's good to see these vaults. The reason for doing these tapes is to help us at sections and state as we're trying to score some of these higher level vaults. You can take a tiny bit off a height, but she was a short gymnast, so she did pop off that table pretty well. I did take a full 10th on the landing, and so I scored that at a 9.85, 9.75 to 9.85. All right, and our final vault is another layout, Yurchenko. Start value is 10. Another nice vault, easy to score because there's not a lot of deductions. You could take half a tenth or so for a little bit more than the necessary pike, and there's a tiny bit of pike in there, although it still qualifies as a layout. So I would take half a tenth, a step on the landing, 0.15 to 0.2. So I'm kind of, again, 9.75 to 9.85. Nice vault. That's pretty much the vaulting that I wanted to show you. I hope this will help you a lot. So much happens so quick. It just reminded me of a quick story. I'm just going to tell you, this is a football game, Vikings-Eagles. The Eagles are on offense. It's a pass play. Eagle receiver is running down the Viking defender. It's close. It's a long pass. There's some contact in there. The Eagles receiver does not catch the ball. The people are mad. The receiver's asking the ref what's going on. The coach of the Eagles is mad, but there was no call made. Now, with all the cameras in an NFL, this was in Philadelphia, and all of a sudden on the Jumbotron, they had a stop-action picture, and you could clearly see the Viking defender interfering with the receiver. It should have been a pass interference call. It was not. They brought it up to the analysts up on top there, and I was afraid he was going to really hammer the ref for a missed call. And I was really happy with what he said. And he said, you see this in real time. You have to be right on at an exact angle at the exact time. You can't even blink your eye or you miss it. That's part of the game. Sometimes these calls are missed. You will miss some of the things if you do a lot of vaults. It just is too much too fast to catch everything. Let it go, move on, and enjoy your judging. We're helping the gymnasts, and I hope you're going to find some value in this tape. That's it from here. Thanks, and I hope I see you out on the judging floor.